Hey, this is Paige Ruderman, and this is the So Rude podcast. Welcome to the show. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the So Rude podcast. My name is Paige Ruderman, and today I am so excited to welcome a special guest to the show. Laura Nickel is a Nashville-based, self-produced folk singer-songwriter and audio engineer. Originally from Albany, New York, Laura is known for her descriptive lyrics and memorable melodies, and her music explores the complexities of the human experience. She writes music directly from the heart, sharing even the raw emotions that most hide from, and she hopes her music will inspire listeners to confront the complexities of their own emotions and treat themselves and others with care during self-reflective times. Her debut album, Dusty Houses, focuses on the themes of lost loved ones, childhood love, and the many memories that accompany friendships. And today, she joins us on the heels of her newest album, Honestly. I met Laura a couple years ago at NSAI, and I'm excited to dig into her journey to Nashville, learning audio production, recording all her own music, her sophomore album, and more. Laura, welcome to the So Rude podcast. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, Paige. Thanks so much for having me on here. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you. And this has become a reoccurring theme in all of my introductions, but we have been trying to make this happen for a very, very long time. And I truly appreciate your flexibility and the fact that we were finally able to get a time that worked.
Oh, same here. I'm just happy to be here and chit chat about music and songwriting and all things fun and musical.
I love it. And just to
Yeah.
catch up, I feel like it's been a
Yeah.
little bit since we've chatted, so this will be fun.
Yeah. Oh, it'll be a blast.
So I know I shared a little bit about you and your background, but can you tell us anything else that I may have missed?
Yeah. I went to college in Albany, New York. I studied at the College of St. Rose, where I earned a 4-year bachelor's degree in, they called it music industry. It was like a threefold music performance, audio engineering, and music business class, kind of all rolled into one. So by the end of that, I decided I wanted to pursue audio engineering and songwriting and being an artist. And so I moved to Nashville. I went to high school in Buffalo, New York, which is where I started my musical journey with voice lessons and learning guitar and all the fun things. And then when I moved to Nashville, I interned at various studios around town and decided to continue my education at the Blackbird Academy, where I earned a studio engineering degree and engineered and interned at a couple other studios and met some amazing people and got to work on some really cool music. And now I'm working on my own stuff. So it's a blast.
That is incredible and so much to dive into. I
Yeah.
cannot wait to peel back all the layers, but wow, truly this has been a almost lifelong journey for you for music, it seems like.
It has. It's funny because my mom always says, like, when I was a kid, before I could even talk, she's always talking about these stories about how I used to just be singing around the house, and she always knew where I was because I was just always making noise and singing, even if I wasn't forming like coherent sentences yet. But I feel like singing and making noise and making music has always been such a joy in my life, and I'm just incredibly blessed and grateful that I get to do it for my job and do it for work and full time. Isn't that awesome? So, yeah.
And we love moms with the hometown stories, instead of Marco Polo, she's just like, okay, that's where Laura is. She's in the next bedroom. She's fine.
Well, and it helped too because she was like a music teacher as well, like in elementary schools and stuff. So, um, it's fun because she gets to talk. She talks about all those fun singing stories, and I really learned a lot from her musically. And she taught me where middle C was on a piano and all of those very early educational music background things. And I'm just happy to be here. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Also, you're one of few of my guests who come from a musical family. So your mom was um a music teacher. Did she also write music? Like how Is that where you kind of got started?
Yeah, it's funny. She doesn't write music. But took voice lessons growing up, and like I was always immersed in music through her. She taught flute lessons and piano lessons. So there was always music in the house. And she was the choir director at our church growing up. So I was part of the choir and learned how to sing and read music from her. And then, um, we transitioned to other teachers as I got older. But yeah, it's always been a part of my life, like growing up listening to music. And she taught me a lot and gave me a very wide understanding of a lot of different musical genres and backgrounds growing up. Like a lot of classical music, some musical theater was in there for sure. So yeah, yeah.
That is so special. And it's nice that you get to share that that passion with people in your family. Like I think that's super cool when other people are just as inspired or like have a passion for it like them. And so okay, so you said you're always like listening to music. What type of artists were you listening to when you were growing up, whether that was like with your family or even you either teen years, late childhood when you started finding your own, like who were some of your influences?
Yeah, growing up, it was a lot of like the classical music and like, of course, like the schoolhouse rock, all of those like,
Yep.
here's the continents of the or the continents and all of the states and where everything is in the world. Here are the songs that go along with it. Um, but I sang in a lot of choirs growing up. And funnily enough, like, what were they called? There were cantori choirs, and like we sang in like classical Latin pieces, and like I was singing like very like old school kind of stuff growing up, like very like traditional music. And I didn't start listening to like commercial music until like my middle school, high school days. Like after I got an iPod and started figuring out what iTunes was, I was like, okay, time to dive in and see what this whole Kesha thing is about and like what is Ed Sheeran? Like I'm here for it. And like listening to like the top 40s on the radio was definitely something I love doing growing up as well. Um but yeah, a lot of like my parents taught me a lot of classical music and I learned a lot of like pop music through and musical theater things through just kind of like my peers and what else was going on around me. Once I hit middle school and like early high school, I want to say I had like, that whole teen rebellious time to start my own music journey sort of thing. And um, Taylor Swift has always been like a huge um,
You and me both,
yeah,
sister. Yeah.
yes, we love like started out in the like teardrops on my guitar, white horse kind of days, and um, it ebbed and flowed from there. But yeah, I had, the pop singer-songwriter stuff has always been such a constant in my genre blend. I had a punk phase in like 15 to 18 year
Did you
old.
really?
I was like, I wanted to be the full emo, like dye my hair black, like the whole thing. My mom wouldn't let me, and it's fine. Might have just been a phase, but it's also a lifestyle. So
It's not a phase, mom.
it's not a phase, mom. It just changed forms. Um, but no, I still love me a good like all-time low Blink 182 type beat. Green Day, yes, please. Um, yeah, I had a jazz phase in college. I listened to a lot of jazz music. Let's see what else. I love Julie Andrews. Anything Julie Andrews sings, I'm like, please, like I need that. Um, but in all honesty, like I love all genres of music. I feel like studying music in college and really being able to dive in and see what each genre was um kind of about and like what were the core elements to various genres. My voice teacher in one semester was like, we're doing a new genre every week. So you have to choose a genre, like on Spotify or whatever, listen to that for a week, and basically write me like a paragraph and a half telling me like, what is this? And we obviously, there's so many genres. We didn't get through everything in the semester, but it opened my eyes to like learning what can I appreciate about each genre, which is really helpful now because the music I work on at my current job, it's very varied and you have to listen to a lot of genres every day and just kind of whatever crosses your desk is what you're listening to. So it's like I have I get to appreciate different elements of each song that graces my ears, I guess. And it's really fun. So, yeah.
Yeah. I heard this quote that like if something's not your taste, it just means you haven't been exposed to it yet. And hearing from you the fact that in college especially, they really honed in on like, can you find something to love from each genre? And how that is probably such a skill set and an asset when it comes to making your own music. Because now, if you like have your jazz influence and you have your country songwriting influence and you have your folk Americana, like, sonic landscape that you like to create, you're then blending all of those things together to create something super original.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really fun to be able to pull from all of these like almost like color palettes or whatever you want to call it. You just have more options. And it's like, you don't have to stay too like narrowed in on one genre. I feel like that's a really easy way to get bored. And I feel like music is so much fun and there's so many ways you can be creative with it. Why not learn from as many musicians as you can?
Totally. And you hinted at this when you were talking about going to school in Albany, New York, but you went to school for music. So you had made a decision like, okay, I'm really pursuing this. And through that experience, you got exposure to the audio production side of things.
Yeah.
Did you always have an interest in that? Like, how did you find yourself on that side of the music spectrum?
It's interesting. I wasn't like in high school, I didn't really know being an audio engineer was like a
A thing?
job.
Yeah,
Yeah, like if you had told me like 10 years ago that the audio engineer aspect of my job now is what I would have been doing, I would have been like, that's not a thing. Like what's going on? Just because I didn't know. Um, but it's really interesting. When I started college, I hadn't ever touched like a Pro Tools session. I didn't know I could plug in a microphone and like get sound out because I played in bands and things in high school, like with microphones and like a mic live sound setup. But I didn't know how to run a board. I didn't know how to do any. There was just a bunch of knobs and dials, and I knew what none of it was. And I'm so grateful to all my teachers and mentors who have taken the time to like answer all my questions and just teach me. And let me make mistakes along the way. And a lot of times those mistakes come with like really annoying feedback sounds or like really high pitched squeaks that are just coming out of the speakers. So I'm always grateful that they're just so patient and with all of that. And um, yeah, I didn't know much about audio when I started college, but I was like, this whole music thing, I want to pursue it. It was the only thing in high school that I was good at a lot of subjects growing up, but music was like the one thing that I was like, I want to actually dive into this and focus on it more. I was constantly listening to music. I was constantly um just immersed in it and I wanted to spend my life just immersed in it. And yeah, okay, I could um, listen to a math lecture or read a book about historical events, but the only thing I really wanted to dive into was music. So I did some research and I found the College of St. Rose, and I decided to, hey, this will teach me performance, this will teach me music business. Great, those will all be beneficial things. You need to learn about copyright law if you're going to be a songwriter. You need to learn about at least have a general understanding of all of those things. So, diving into school, I was like, okay, I have to take this Pro Tools class. How does this all work? It was so overwhelming at first. You're just diving into the deep ends of routing and cables and a lot of like, you just have to visualize it in your head kind of stuff. And then once you figure it out, it works. But I knew none of it. Um, and by the end of my senior year, well, actually, it was like my sophomore year, I realized I could use the knowledge I learned from Pro Tools and recording software and how do microphones work and all of that stuff, and use that to apply. Because my dream has always been to record music and release music. And I realized that I could use these skills to get my dream to the way I want, to get the sound recorded the way I want it to sound. And it's always been a journey, and I'm growing all the time because I feel like there's always more you can learn, especially
Sure.
with, yeah, well, especially with like there's always new techniques and new technology coming out. And learning the old technology and how does that translate to today. I think though it has been really cool to be able to record music that, especially when I started recording like my Blue Skies EP back in my junior year of college. um I recorded stuff that I wrote at like 16, and listening to it now, I'm like, oh my goodness, she was such like a little baby writing these songs. Like I know where I was in my parents' house when I wrote these. Like I get so nostalgic. It's kind of um like a little photo album of music that I've worked on, and it's really cool to be able to see the growth and the change. And then I released my Dusty Houses album, which I also recorded at while I was in college, and being able to like honor my family through that, and um memorialize some of my grandparents that had passed away and things like that was really such an enriching experience from the songwriting process all the way even through like today, and hearing how friends of mine or people who are just now listening to it are relating to songs I wrote. I don't even remember, a couple years ago. It's like, it's so cool. So, um, it's always been a dream of mine, and it's so cool to be able to see that this music I've written has been able to impact people's lives and make positive change. So, yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you were able to take going to school to learn these skills, you're able to bring them with you because you now live in Nashville, Tennessee. You were in Albany, New York. How
Mhm.
long have you been in Nashville now?
I moved to Nashville about 3 days after I graduated college. So,
Really?
yeah, it was a stressful week. Oh my goodness. We packed up my college dorm. I graduated. I spent a couple days in Albany just to like say goodbye to a couple of friends. And then spent a day in Buffalo where my parents live. It was like a 4 hour drive from Albany to Buffalo. Spent a day there just kind of repacking and trying to figure out what do I need for my new apartment in Nashville, which I didn't have set up yet. I was moving to Nashville without a place to stay. I had a couple internships lined up, so I knew like I was going to be there for about 4 months, and I've been here for about 3.5 years now. So
Wow.
I have no intentions. I have no plans on leaving anytime soon. I mean, who knows? Life is always such a joy and a journey. You can never predict anything. But um, I moved to Nashville with whatever I could fit in the back of my tiny little car, and it was mostly filled with all my instruments and like a tiny box for like my coffee maker, and that was about it. And everything else has just been built up from here. So, yeah, everyone's so sweet, and I love living here. It's a dream come true, truly.
Oh my goodness. So like literally you were destined. You were like, I'm moving. I got internships set up and I'm gonna figure it out like when I get down there.
It all happened so fast because I didn't even know I was moving to Nashville till about 2 weeks before I graduated because I got accepted for some internships and they were like, let us know by tomorrow if you can be here in like 2.5 weeks. And I was
Okay, that
like,
is not fair.
it was crazy. And I was like, you know what? I have nothing going on this summer. Like, yeah, let's go. Like, I had to do an internship, so yeah, let's
What a
go.
leap of faith.
Yeah, and I just kept saying like, you know, if this is meant to work out, everything is going to align perfectly. Like the first internship came into place, and then I got a second internship with a like record label. So I was interning in both the audio and then the music business side of things. And then my school gave me a scholarship to get to Nashville, and I was just like, oh my goodness, this is if all signs are not pointing to Nashville right now, I don't know what is. Um, it's been one of the biggest leaps of faith I've taken in a long time, and I'm so grateful. Like it worked out, and I'm really glad. So yeah,
Yeah, put one foot in front of the other.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. So help me understand the timeline. You wrap up
uh-huh,
school, you move to Nashville 3 days later with
yeah,
the internships and no apartment figured out right
yep,
away.
yep.
What happened in the time after coming here and like how did you find yourself at Blackbird Academy? Because that is for people who are not familiar, that's a very prestigious program. Like from what I've heard, it is extremely hard to get in and you are literally learning the ins and the outs of studio work from one of the most inspiring places, from some really talented instructors. So like I'd love to hear like how that came about for you. Like how'd you wind up there? And yeah, I'm so interested.
Yeah, no, of course. I'll dig into as much as you want, and go into as in depth of the tea you want me to spill. But I guess the shorter version, which probably won't be as short as I keep saying it will be, um, is I did those internships. I worked in a studio for about 4 months, and I worked with a record label for about 3 or 4 months as well. I learned about social media management. How does marketing and promo work for like an artist's release? I learned about more about the studio side of things and a little bit about like historic tape recording and old school studio things. How did they start back in the days of analog recording? And after those internships, I was like, okay, I have my degree, I have my internships, I have met all of the requirements that all of the people who tell me I need to do things have told me to do. And now what? And so I was like, searching on LinkedIn and searching on all of the job websites and all the forums. And I'd been in Nashville for 4 months. Like I'm fairly introverted, so I didn't know that many people. And people always say in Nashville, it's like all about the people you know and the connections and all of that. And um, it was a little bit of a struggle for me to get started with all of that. And so I did a lot of figuring out. And there was a lot of like days and weeks and months where I felt very lost and was like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I did a lot of songwriting during that time and just really dove into like, okay, what do I want to do? What are my goals? Both creatively and just life. And how do I want to do this whole music thing? How does that actually look for like me? And I played around with some ideas. All in the meantime, I'm working at coffee shops and restaurants and talking to people about soup and handing them lattes and they're complaining that it's too hot or not hot enough and it's just like, okay, I'm doing all of this for a reason, right? And the reason was music. I'm doing this to work in music. I'm doing this because I'm so passionate about music. I don't want to do anything else. What does this look like? So I spent like I want to say about a year really digging into like the why and the what of what I wanted to do and why I wanted to follow it. And I was feeling very frustrated because I was applying for jobs and applying for jobs, and I just felt like I was just hitting brick walls left and right. Um, that's actually when I started working with NSAI, which is when I met you, Paige, and that was such a fun summer. We just song wrote and um, did all the fun little co-writes, and I want to write more with you. That would be such a fun blast.
Same here. We'll
Yes,
have to
okay.
get it one on the calendar.
Put it in the books.
Yes.
One day I was so fed up with my restaurant job. I was just so tired of talking to people about what the special is on the menu and how many add-on topping things you can put on your dinner. I was like, I'm so sick of this. It's not related to music. I'm over this. And I was like, I need to apply for something, either another internship, something to get me back into the music career track. Like, yes, I'm still songwriting. I released my Dusty Houses album during that time. I learned a lot about music promo and um, just like songwriting and some music production, things like that. And one day I was just so fed up. I Googled audio internships in Nashville. Blackbird Academy was the first thing that showed up on my Google search. And I was like, it worked out too well for me to make it to Nashville, get those internships, find an apartment, still be here like a year and a half later for me to just leave. This is something I should look into. So I looked into Blackbird. I like reserved my little wait list thing that day and was like, I'll submit an application. Worst case, they say no. I've applied to so many other places. I might as well get some more education out of this, especially somewhere local in Nashville. Um, I went to college for audio and all of these things during the COVID pandemic. So I had to do a lot of the quote unquote hands-on learning over Zoom. So it's like, okay,
Oh.
learning how to mic like a B3 organ is not something you can really learn, or like a drum kit. You can't learn that on Zoom. Like you can learn the theory of it, but you need to have that hands-on knowledge of like, here's where some people like to place this microphone. And they like to, someone, if you want a different sound, you have to place them this way or this way or this way. And here's why. And here's what it will sound like once we set it up that way. Um, I didn't get a ton of that. I learned a lot about Pro Tools and the software side of things, but um, not the hands-on as much as I wanted. So I was like, okay, let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can do at Blackbird. I started at Blackbird during January of 2024, and it was a 6-month program. I had the pleasure of working with some of the best teachers, in my opinion, on the planet. They are so supportive. They are so like willing to answer any question. My classmates are all people I like will happily call if I have an audio question now, or like if like some of my greatest friends, like if hey, I need someone to play guitar on this thing, like you wanna hang out and see if we can, find a cool guitar sound or whatever. They're there and it's amazing. Um, it was a 6-month program. I essentially poured my heart and soul into the entire educational process while I was there. Because I was like, I worked so hard the last year and a half and got a lot of nothing. So now that I'm in this school, I'm gonna work really hard and really give it my all. And this is gonna be the big thing I'm focusing on for the next 6 months. And I'm gonna see where it takes me. Um, I to a point where I quit my audio, or not my audio job, my restaurant job, and I was like, I'm gonna just work really hard, save up as much money as I can, and then once I'm in school, it's school. like we're full on focusing on this. And I was in a really like blessed position to be able to do that. Um, but yeah, it was school nonstop. I was in every single lab and like extra like out of school hours, hands-on studio time. I was in there recording. I was like, I've wrote all of these songs in the last year and a half, and so I'm going to bug all of my friends and see if they can, hey, you want extra like audio engineering practice time? I'm recording an album, so come click record for me and I will sing vocals. Or like we're gonna track guitars today or keyboards or whatever. Um, and it was such an enriching time and so much fun. And I really felt like I learned so much. I would recommend Blackbird Academy to anyone looking for schooling options, especially in like the audio world. I loved it. And I honestly liked it a lot more than I did my 4-year degree. Maybe that's just because with the COVID pandemic and everything, I just got more out of it personally. Not to say I didn't learn a lot. I feel like college was a great foundation. I was able to build off of that from Blackbird, and I'm really appreciative of all of that.
Oh, totally. And in your story, like, this is such a perfect example of you get what you put into it. And like the
Yeah.
another leap of faith, like, I'm gonna completely dedicate myself time wise to the program that I applied for. And I really resonate to what you said about too many stars had to have aligned to get you to where you are. I have very similar sentiments about Nashville. Like so many things had to work, or so many little wins had to have happened for me to be here. Like
Yeah.
this cannot be the end of the road, you know? And so I think that's such a positive and optimistic mindset. And you know, pairing that, I think it's one thing to be super positive and optimistic, but like when you pair that with a work ethic of every single extra moment I have, I'm spending in the recording lab or in the studio, or I'm going to pick up extra hours, or I'm going to recruit other students that want to get experience because you were then using it to say, hey, I want to apply all of this to my own artistry. Like, I think that's such a fantastic blueprint for anyone tuning in who's listening, who's, hey, I'm an artist. I have this audio experience. Like, how do I bring this to life? Bring all of those skills that you've learned along the way to life, you know?
Oh yeah, I'm a firm believer in like anything you learn along the way can be applied, even if it's not necessarily like to the topic. Like you can still like okay, like even if you're not consistent in your workouts or whatever, it's like you still learn that the work you put into it, you still get some benefits. Or like if you learn how to cook something, you can still take that knowledge years later and apply that knowledge to something else. Like I really feel like um it's just something that like if you have any sort of knowledge, you can apply it to whatever you want to do.
I love how this introduces so naturally into what an exciting time for you, which is the release of your second album. Honestly, it sounds like you had an EP early on, you had your
Yes.
first album, Dusty Houses, and now, honestly, what a tremendous body of work for, and please forgive me, like you are so still early in the career phase, but to have had so many exciting milestones, like I'm so excited to hear about, honestly. How good does it feel that it's now out?
Oh my gosh, the amount of like joy I feel having this album out is surreal. It doesn't feel like it's out some days. Like I have to remind myself like no, you did this. Like you did the thing that you've been planning on for years. It's out. It's done. It's all of the work and all of the mental energy and all of the decisions has all happened the way you wanted it to. It's released the way I want it, and I'm so grateful for that.
That is fantastic. And like, I want to make sure we highlight
Yeah.
this album was completely written, recorded, and produced by you.
Hmm. And I mixed it too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And it's a 12-track album, which for someone who's independent, like that is a big undertaking. A lot of people might choose to go the EP route or maybe like 6 songs, but to have a full-fledged 12-track album, that is really exciting. And what an impressive accomplishment and testament again to your hard work and taking advantage of everything that presented itself to help you get across the finish line.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a long journey. Like I wrote a lot of these songs while I was still in college, like about the time after I finished recording the Dusty Houses album. Before that was even released, I was writing, honestly. And it is really cool to see where these songs ended up and how much my life has changed since, I wrote these songs when I was like 21. And it's like, it's really cool. It's really cool to see that I still resonate to a lot of these songs, maybe in a different way than I initially did when I wrote them. Um, but it's really fun to see that I still relate to a lot of the aspects of the songs that I wasn't necessarily anticipating being able to do, and I'm really grateful about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, this is labeled a folk album.
Yes.
Have you always identified as being a folk artist? Like, how did you land in that lane?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like I never quite know how to like
Label something.
yeah, like
Yeah.
label my I never want to be like that person that's like I'm too cool for labels. Like I'm not. Like put a sticker on me if you want. It's fine. But it's funny because it's like, when you're pushing an album to distribution to put it onto Spotify and Apple Music and all of the platforms, they need a genre to put it in. And I was showing it to my mentor at Sputnik and I was like, okay, like what is this? What genre is this? And he was like, well, it's like an indie pop, indie rock kind of album. And I was like, I mean, I guess, but there are like a lot of folk elements. Like I'm very inspired by artists like Hozier and Noah Kahn and Gregory Alan Isakov. I saw them all three. They were in town in Nashville like last fall, I want to say, or maybe two
Yeah.
years ago. I saw it was like the same week. Oh my goodness, my little indie folk heart was so happy. I was like, yes, please. I need to live in this forever. Um, so I feel very influenced by a lot of those artists and inspired by a lot of them as well. So I feel like a natural progression to lean that way. I mean, there are a couple more like pop rock type influences and elements like Vampire Weekend and I'm trying to think, well, like Florence and the Machine, artists like that have also influenced the sound of this record. Um, but I feel like it's just music and it's just music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful thing about labeling it a folk album is that one thing you do very well and like I really enjoy about your songs is you come up with the most creative metaphors when you're
Thank you.
describing things. Yeah, really cool. Okay, one song off the album that I really like is St. Louis.
I love St. Louis. Yes, let's dive into it. How much
Please
do you want to
do.
talk about it?
I'd
Yeah.
love to hear like where the inspiration came from and like um where in the creating process this was because I find it really fascinating. Sometimes people will be like, this is the first song I wrote for the album. And then it's kind of like, okay, interesting. That's kind of this almost stand of, okay, this is where I'm starting. Where am I going to go? And then sometimes people share like, this is the last song on the album. So this was like the conclusion of where they felt like this project landed. I'm curious where St. Louis fell on the list.
It's really funny because I wrote a lot of these songs on the album fairly. at the same, a very similar time.
Hmm.
I wrote it, it's funny. I would, in college, I would like go to a therapy session and then like immediately go home and songwrite.
You're like,
And
thanks
I
for being my brainstorm partner. And now I get to take all, I'm just going to go write the whole thing.
So now that we've like unearthed all of these things, I'm gonna just like write all these into songs because why not? So one day I was really thinking a lot about moving, and I was at the stage of my life where it was right before I found out I was moving to Nashville. It was right before I was like kind of, it was in the spring before summer graduation or college graduation, and I was like, what's next? Um, and I was thinking a lot about the last time I was like, oh, what's next? 'Cause and that for me was when I lived in St. Louis. So I lived in St. Louis for 4 years, and during that time, my dad was in seminary, studying to be a pastor, and the seminary he went to, they don't tell you where your first assignment is, like your first placement is, until the week you graduate. So my whole family and myself included, we were like, okay, so graduation's like in a month.
You're in limbo. You don't
Where
know
are
where
we,
you're going.
right,
Yeah.
where are we moving? Like no one knows. No one knows until we all find out together at this big ceremony. And there's um a lot of like anticipation that comes with that. And I felt very reminiscent of that time period of being like, oh, what's happening? There's just all this anticipation of what's next. And it was before I knew I was going to Nashville and going on this really amazing adventure. And I was like, okay, I need to sit down and think about when I was in St. Louis and go through all of those emotions of that first time I was anticipating it and knowing anticipating a move and all of these things and knowing it worked out. It's okay. We're gonna, we find our way. Even though moving is can be sad and nostalgic and oh, remember when we had this memory in this space and all of these things. It's like, um, I loved my time there, and there I made so many wonderful friends and have so many great memories of being in St. Louis. And it was also like I think it was like either a really cold day in Albany or something, and I was like, man, can I just be in St. Louis where it's just like hot all the time? Like,
Yeah.
please. Yeah. So I
There's
think that
a there's a line in the song I loved, and I can't remember the word right before it, but I believe it was jeans grass stained from hand-me-down climbs. And
yes.
I just loved the visual of that, of like this mixing of like hand-me-down but with like climbs. And yeah, I just think that's such a beautiful like very quick snapshot of the way you paint pictures with your words.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's really fun too, because I'm gonna give you a little little
Little behind the
connection moment.
scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that it's funny because listening to these albums and these songs and working on them for so long, you see connections to other songs that you didn't necessarily plan or anticipate. So that line with the, I think it's I still wear those jeans, grass stained from hand-me-down climbs. That actually directly correlates to treasure maps in the whole like let's climb a tree verse and take me to the tops of the trees, share a secret, you and me. Um, and it's really fun to be able to be like, man, I did wear those hand-me-down jeans that had the ripped holes in the knees and from climbing trees, and I still have them some in some drawer buried in the back somewhere. And yeah, it's just like it's really fun to be able to like connect all of the dots and like tie it all
Yeah.
together.
Like an
Yeah.
interconnected catalog.
Yeah.
But I think that's also a beautiful, almost like a beautiful thing for people listening. I've heard a lot of people say before, like, "Oh, I've already written about that topic," and it's kind of like, I, if something's on your heart or on your mind, or even if you've explored it before, don't be afraid to dive back in because you might be coming in from a different point in time, or you might be exploring it in a new way, and then later on, people can start to piece together these memories that you've created in a catalog, once you have like, 12 plus tracks, people can start to see like the relationship between them.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, part of the beauty of an album as well is being able to kind of encapsulate, like, put these songs in kind of like a sphere or like a world of its own and be able to be like, these songs are all interconnected to each other. And um, so here's the album. You have fun tying all the pieces together. Here's the puzzle. Go, you know, in some ways. And it's really fun because like I'll hear snippets of my songs through my promo, or I'll just listen to it and I'll be like, oh my goodness, I still notice connections, and I don't like I'm not trying to be like, oh, it's so intellectual, like it's just like an accidental thing that happened, and I'm like, oh, hey, that ties to this song that I wrote, and I wasn't planning that. Um, but yeah, so it's just
Yeah.
fun how that goes. Yeah.
And it speaks to your comment earlier about like you wrote these previously in almost a one frame of life or one chapter of life. Now you then went through a chapter of recording all of them, but they can still apply or you can still have similar feelings like, and sometimes it's fun to just dive back into like how was I, if these were captured in high school or college, like how was I feeling back then?
Oh, 100%. It's really fun to be able. There are some days where I'm like, oh man, I just wish I could give like younger me a hug because it does get better. Or like days where it's like, or you listen to the really upbeat songs and you're like, I'm so glad we had that like really fun day that we get to write songs about. And now it's like memorialized into this like song that now we get to remember like how good of a day we've had, or all of the in-betweens. Um, yeah, it's really fun to be able to do and see for sure.
Yeah. I also love what you said about like they all live on an album. Again, albums, that's such a bold choice because I feel like for a lot of independents, we've been told like the single model, like put out singles once a month for a year. And that's your, instead of doing an album, you have 12 singles. And like for you to make a decision to decide to say, I'm going to build an album, these all fit together to build this world or to say share this message like was that hard to make the decision to make it an album, and two, how did you pick that these were the 12, because I imagine you wrote way more than these 12 over the course of your time between writing them and recording, so like how did you know that these were the 12 that lived together?
It's interesting. I feel like my life goes through stages, kind of like chapters in a book sometimes. And maybe that's just how I visualize it. And I kind of see the songs I write during certain periods as like part of those chapters, if that makes sense. Like, um, the Dusty Houses album, I feel like that's like very encapsulated of my like nostalgia and time in college. And then um honestly is like the post grad, what are we doing? Life is so fun and really cool, and I'm gonna going through all of these like self-discovery things, but also what is happening at the same time. Um, and I don't know. I think it's just like sitting down and looking at this whole long list of songs that I've written and being like, which fit together. And I kind of think of it too a little bit of like, when did I write them? Because I kind of feel like I sit in like a similar headspace songwriting vibe for long enough that I'm able to figure out like, okay, these sit in the world, and these next collection of songs. Yeah, they're still connected to the previous world, but there might be a bridge or something connecting it, but they're not necessarily the same chapter of the book.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a previous guest, Jay Putty, who he was telling me almost a similar thing to what you were saying, which is like you might write a song and you're like, I love this song. This song will have a life, but it doesn't fit in this chapter. And so I'm going to
Absolutely.
hold it until there might be a chapter. Maybe it's the next one. It could be two chapters from now. And that's when this one will, join the ranks, so to speak. But I think that's a very intuitive skill to be able to say, like, I'm going to appreciate it for what it is. And it's not right now.
Hmm. Thank you. I appreciate that. It takes a lot of like time to sit with it. Sometimes it's like, okay, I love this song. I want to release it, but it doesn't like there were a couple songs that I wrote like Crystal Ball and Make Me Happy. I wrote those. I wrote Crystal Ball was actually the first song I wrote for the album. And Crystal Ball and Make Me Happy, I was like, man, I could put these on the Dusty Houses album. I'm ready to record them now. They were written with plenty of time for me to have had that on the my first album, but something about it just didn't fit the message I was trying to share in that initial album. And I was like, I like these songs, but you know what? There will be a time where they fit, and it doesn't feel like I'm just throwing it in the last second. It won't feel rushed. Sometimes songs just need a second to like sit with you as well. Like when I wrote Make Me Happy, I was like, man, I don't really want to play this song right after a song where I'm like talking about how in love my grandparents were with each other. Like it's like they're very different topics and it's like I also needed some time because that song is so like emotionally like heavy for me. I'm like I needed some time to just like let it sit and let my give myself some space and time to just heal as well. And it's really cool to now be able to see that and be like, yeah, it fit on this album and it I've been able to heal and be like, man, we grew through this song and through recording it and producing it and everything. Like it's all like a healing, growing, learning process. And it's really cool to come out to the other side and be like, yeah, yeah,
I
it
made
worked
it.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah.
Is there one song on the album? Because at this point in time, you have your third single coming out soon, Crystal Ball. Is there one on the album that is like, in your mind, a secret, like, it's a love of yours and you hope that people can connect with it as much as you, but it might always be one of those like hidden gems of the album. Does anything stand out to you in that way?
A lot of them do, actually, which is I can't be like the whole album is a hidden gem. I I love Flip a Wish because I feel like sometimes I'll listen to it and I'll be like, I don't even know what the song is about. But then there will be other times where I'm like, I know exactly what this song is about. I just can't verbalize it. And then there but I guess in truth, to answer your question, I feel like it would be Timber. That song is so like if it I would have made that the lead single on Honestly if I had never written Honestly. I bet you I would have named the song Timber or named the album Timber. Um, but the um the idea of like building all these dreams and building all of these dreams and then feeling like, man, one wrong step, one wrong spark of a match could just burn everything down is is really something that I hope people understand and resonate with that feeling, but also being like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to like to trust people and to be like, yeah, I want these things for myself and for other people and it's okay to have dreams and it's also okay to like to work towards them and not just let it sit in your imagination forever.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Speaking of the album, the title is Honestly.
Yeah.
Now, I know from our conversations before, from our co-writes hanging out, sitting in your living room, I know there was a period of time that you got really into painting and creative and
Yes.
finding new hobbies. Looking at the album art, it looks like a hand painted image. Did you create that? Can you like how did that album art come to be?
I wish I had painted that. My very, very talented friend, Erin McLaughlin, painted that for me. Oh my goodness. She took my vision of like wanting it to be a birdhouse, but taking the whole like, this is some like cabin in the woods by a lake, very scenic, um, semi-isolated, but like we're just surrounded by birds and we're spinning in the wilderness and like trees are everywhere. She took that whole idea I had and painted it because I knew I wanted it to be a painted graphic. There's a lot of painting imagery, especially in like blue green and Flip a Wish. There are just so many elements of color and um, seeing things in a different light that I really wanted to highlight on um, the visual and graphic side of things. I am unfortunately not, even though yes, I love painting and I love going into painting, I didn't feel like I would have been able to um, make it the way I wanted it to be unless I had some help of some of my other very talented friends. So I had my friend Erin paint it, and she put these really cool. If you like zoom in on the image, I um, there are some really cool um, little sprinkles of references to other songs on the album on there. Like if you zoom in, there's that bird that's flying in, which is a bluebird, which is referenced in, oh, I don't, there's a bluebird reference in the album. You can, whoever's listening, listen to the album and you tell me what song it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. Um, and there's a snake for garden snakes on the birdhouse. There, partridge is very heavily referenced in the songs and bird imagery and everything. So we did a birdhouse for that. Um, and um, there's a whole bunch of things. There's a key hidden on there. There's some bells for one sunny day. Um, yeah, there's a whole bunch of things. So it's really cool to be able to see all of the detail that Erin was able to put into all of this and just make it look exactly how I was imagining it to be.
No, that's perfect. And in a world of AI and people like getting automated images generated to hi it's just another way to highlight your friends and the network that you've built in your art. And I think that's super special.
Yeah. Oh, and it's really fun to be able to like collaborate on a project too. I learned that a lot through Blackbird. I'm so used to being like a um solo work on everything by myself in the quiet comfort of my room and just tip tap click clack away at my keyboard and it's I'm learning through the last year I've learned a lot about the benefits of collaboration. And that's definitely something that I will say Nashville in general has taught me is not only like the co-writes that you and I have been able to do, but also like just being able to see the creative input and what comes along with the other people that you work with. You get to build something that you might necessarily not have anticipated walking into the ride or the session, but um you still come out with something really cool by the end of it. And that's what's really fun is like I would have never thought to put a snake hanging off of the side of the Garden Snake album art or the honestly album artwork. But here we are, and it works so perfectly. Like those little elements and details that other people um, think to add are actually some of my favorite things on this album. Like it's it's really cool to be like, yeah, I produced this, but it's like I got to work with a lot of really cool people also while working on this album, and that is so cool to be able to be like, man, this album that I recorded during my time at Blackbird is a little bit of like a yearbook of what we did during the Blackbird time and like being able to see all of the behind the scenes videos and things I took during videos I took during sessions was is really cool to be able to be like, man, I got to do this with my friends. Like at the end of the day, we're making music and we're having fun. Like, yeah, there's the pressure of, oh, okay, you got to get the streaming counts and yeah, you got to pitch it to playlists and make sure people are listening and all of this. But it's like making a body of work like this with people you genuinely connect with creatively and um it's just fun. And that is always what I've been saying is like I've been always saying like I want to make music because it's fun, not because yeah, it's work and some days, yeah, okay, the mo early mornings and the late nights and you got to really dedicate your life to it. But at the end of the day, I'm like I love what I'm doing and that is what's driving all of this. Um so I really hope that's what comes across with the rest of this album is like this was a joy and a pleasure to make.
And I was lucky enough to get to attend. It was the album release party, right? That was the one
Yes.
at your house. So
Yeah.
Laura held an album release party and I got to go, which was so fun and got to meet so many of the very talented people that got to help bring your album to life. But just getting to sit back and watch you all reminisce on like, and remember when da 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 da, like those are the things that you get to continue to celebrate. Like you all get to champion it. You all get to celebrate in that moment. And like that, I agree with it's there's something super special about sharing a creative project with other people because it can only get even better when you get to blend all of those things together.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like being able to, yeah, like to blend and combine, like my friend Kason played guitar on a lot of the album, and there were things that like guitar riffs he would add that I was like, oh, I like that. I don't know if it would necessarily fit with the song, but let's give it a shot. And putting different effects on it and like being able to produce it along the way as well was really fun to be able to see where everything ended up. Like especially there's a guitar riff in the second verse of Honestly that it's like it just every time I hear it I smile because I'm just like I remember that moment and I remember working on that with Kason and when we got it that like instant serotonin boost of like yes we did it we found it um, it's just it's so fun to be able to remember all of those things too and being like, yeah, we did that. And there are elements and moments and pieces of that that is in every single song on this album, which I'm really, really happy to have been able to do.
And what's even more special is the whole album is out now. So people can go and listen. If you're tuning in, you can go listen to this album and listen and hear all the things that we're mentioning.
Yes.
But I would be remiss not to mention that you have another exciting project coming out before the end of this year,
Yes.
a new holiday song. Please tell us more.
Yeah, of course. It's called Merry Christmas, I'm Coming Home. It's all about well, I live far away from my family, and so every year I love being able to go home for the holidays and just reconnect with my family and spend some time and see the dogs and see my family and eat good food and um just be able to spend some time around people I love that have known me my whole life. And I feel the song is about being so like caught up in the busy hustle and bustle of um, the everyday life, and especially as musicians, there are a lot of days where it's just like I have one thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and suddenly it's 10 p.m. and I'm like, I hardly breathed today. Like I don't even know what I did, but we were busy, and um, being able to and the song is basically about taking a second to just breathe and step back and being like, where do I call home? Who is my family? Be it family like biological family or chosen family, and spending time with the people you love and enjoying the holidays and just um, spending quality time together. Um, so that's what the song's about. It's gonna be out in November, and I'm so excited. I got to work on some really amazing musicians on this. It's actually the first song I did not produce by myself. I got to work with Mitch Dane over at Sputnik Sound, and we recorded the song with a bunch of session players from Nashville. So it's such a dream come true to like it was really fun to see it all come together. Um, it got recorded really quickly. We started recording it in September, and um, it's just really it's so cool. I'm so happy that it's going to be out and everyone gets to listen to it just in time for the holidays and maybe just sprinkle that in the playlist when you're sick of Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. No shade to Mariah. It's a bop. I love that song. But like sprinkle it in, sprinkle it in. It's about going home. All I want for Christmas is going home.
Oh my goodness. Well, especially as people are gearing up for their holiday season and they have a bunch of travel ahead of them or just time to relax at home. What a great time to have a song like this come out to help remind them and help them feel more. I feel like the older you get, the less I feel like when I was really young, there would be this lead time to the holiday. You're like, as soon as Halloween hit, it felt like okay, it's going to be here before you know, and you're anticipating it. And then the older I get, I feel like that window of time. And now I'm like, oh, it's the holidays in a week. Like, where did the time go? This is the perfect time to dive back into the nostalgia and that kind of holiday spirit.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's funny because like going into like it's October at the time of recording this, and it's really funny to be able to like walk into like a Michael's store and there's just Christmas stuff everywhere, and it's really interesting to see all of that and being like, it's early. But my brain this year is like, oh, well, we're releasing a Christmas song. So it's really not that early. Just because I'm already sort of semi in like holiday mode already. Um, but it's really fun to be able to participate in the holidays in a little bit of a different angle this year, being able to release Christmas music as well. I've never done that before, and I really challenged myself this year with working on a Christmas song, and I love it. I think it's a really fun song, so I'm really excited to share it with the world.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, Laura, it has been such an absolute blast chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking all about your new album. This has been such a blast.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved my time on here. Thank you so much. It's been a blast.
I'm so glad. And every time I have a guest on the show, I always close with the same final question, which
Okay.
is what is one thing you would tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self to look for the small joys in every day. Um, Stand in sunlight more often. You don't need to be a vampire every day. Um, and um, don't forget to dance while you're listening to music.
Iconic. I love it. Who doesn't like a little dance break in the middle of
Like a
the day?
little, just
Little
like
shimmy.
if you're sitting in traffic, just a little fist bump or something. Do something. Yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah.
could break out all of those dance moves listening to Laura's brand new album, Honestly, a 12 track, fully written, recorded, and self produced by Laura Nickel herself. It has been such a pleasure chatting with you, Laura. If people haven't come across you before or this is their first introduction to you, where can people find you if they would like to follow along with your journey?
Yeah, I'm on all of the streaming platforms just under Laura Nickel. I'm also on most of the social medias, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all of them, under Laura Nickel Music, and or just search up Laura Nickel, honestly, and that's where I'll be. So, yeah.
Perfect. I'm going to have all of those linked down below in the show notes. So I strongly encourage you to go and check out Laura's new album, honestly, and to celebrate in the holiday spirit with her brand new original holiday song. If this is your first time tuning into the So Rude podcast, I also ask that you follow along on Instagram and TikTok at so rude.podcast. All of the audio versions of this episode are on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and we have a video version up on YouTube. And by you continuing to support the show or following along and engaging, it allows me to grow and bring on the spectacular guests such as Laura, who are generous with their time to come on and share with us their journey, things that they've learned along the way that are all tools that we can use in our own creative pursuits. So make sure you follow along and subscribe and tune in because it's been a joy getting to have these interviews, and I hope you've been enjoying them as much as me. As always, have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll chat again soon. Bye now. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with every episode. See you next time.